friends, and welcome back to English Classes Online. My name is Benjamin, and in today's video, we are going to look at articles in English and the rules for using them correctly. If you are new to the channel, kindly subscribe to this channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Click on the bell icon as well, so that whenever a new video is uploaded on this channel, you will be notified instantly. Without much ado, let's dive into the lesson right away. Now, let's first look at the lesson objectives. At the end of this lesson, you should be able to, 1, explain the meaning of articles, 2, explain the difference between definite and indefinite articles, and 3, explain the rules for using articles correctly in English sentences. Now, what are articles? Articles are words that define a noun as specific or non-specific. In other words, articles are determiners, if you like. English has 3 articles: the, a, and an. The is used to refer to specific or particular nouns. So it is called the definite. So it is called the definite article, all right? Then a and an are used to refer to non-specific or non-particular nouns. They are called indefinite articles. So definite articles show you some specific things. They point to specific things already known to the speaker and the listener. But indefinite articles refer to non-specific things. All right, we are going to look at the rules for using these articles. Let's begin with rule number 1. Use a with a singular noun beginning with a consonant sound, and use an with a singular noun between, use an with a singular noun beginning with a vowel sound. So let's look at their specific examples. You use a with, singular nouns that begin with consonants. A lion. Lion begins with the consonant L. A house. A man. A university. A European tour. All right? Now, you need to understand that we are talking about consonants. So if you are looking at this, the alphabet, the consonant, when you look at the word university, it seemingly begins with a vowel sound, but that that is a vowel letter. But in actual fact, it begins with a consonant sound. University, a university. Let me actually show you what this is about. All right, so here it begins with this palatal sound. All right. All right, so you can see. So the sound that begins this is a consonant sound, even though you have a vowel letter that begins the word university. In terms of sound, it begins with a consonant sound. All right, the same thing applies to this. A European. the same partial consonant sound. Now, having said that, let's look at examples of an. You use an with a singular noun beginning with a vowel sound. An elephant. You see, an elephant. An hour. Again, you see that even though you have a consonant letter H, yet you see that in actual fact, this word begins with a vowel sound. An hour. This is the transcription. So H is silent here. An hour. An hour. All right. The same thing here, even though you have a consonant letter, yet it is it is a vowel sound, an MA. So when you talk about MA, M and M, all right. So that's exactly what it is. So it is an MA, all right, an MA, an MA. So this is the transcription, an MA, an MA in English, all right. So in some cases, you may find a word beginning with a consonant letter, but in pronunciation, it begins with a vowel sound. So you need to understand that there's a remarkable discrepancy between letters and sound. In writing, we use letters, but in speaking, we use sound. So letters merely represent sound. So here, an umbrella, an English book, all right? So I want you to take note of that. So let's undo this. Let's undo the marks. Okay, so now we can go to the next slide. Okay. So we want to look at rule number 2. In rule number 2, you are to use a or an only with countable nouns. Uncountable nouns don't require a or an. Now take note of this. You have countable nouns and uncountable nouns. So you use a or an only with countable nouns, which are singular, of course, and then you don't use a or an with uncountable nouns. Now, let's look at examples of countable nouns. Things you can count: a school, a hospital, a wise man, a university, an elephant, an engineer, an electrician, an optimist. All right, so all these are these are all countable. And then let's look at uncountable nouns, things you cannot count. Education, you cannot say an education. Health, you cannot say a health because you cannot count it. So you use a or an with things you can count when you are referring to one of them. For example, a school is one school, you know, and then there could be 2 schools, there could be more schools, and you don't use a or an with plural countable nouns. You use a or an with singular countable nouns, just as you have seen in these examples. So take note of these rules. You don't use a or an with uncountable nouns like wisdom, knowledge, strength, water, coffee, a. Of course, in some cases, such as coffee, when you use, if you singularize or pluralize it, then you change the meaning, all right? Then the meaning, it then refers to a cup of coffee, no longer the substance, all right? Now, let's look at rule number 3. Use a or an for an unknown or indefinite person or thing, that is things that are non-specific. Then you use the for a known or definite person or thing. If you are having a conversation with someone, you need to mention something before you begin to use the definite article. So we have seen the difference between definite and indefinite. A or an refer to indefinite, and B refers to the definite. Now let's look at examples. A, you asked me to buy a book. This moment, the book is just being mentioned for the first time. You asked me to buy you a book. Now, after you have bought the book, you can now say, this is the book. At this moment, you are using the definite article because the book in reference is already known to the listener. All right, you asked me to buy a book. This is the first mention of the book, so you can't use a definite article. You asked me to buy you a book. Having bought the book, you can now say, this is the book, because this is already known to the listener. So you use a or an for an unknown or indefinite person or thing. So a book refers to a book you don't know about. Both the speaker and the listener don't know the book being talked about. But now that the book has been bought, it's now known to both the speaker and the listener. So you can now use the definite article, the. Let's look at another example. Yesterday, my uncle bought me a dog. You see, the first time you are referring to this particular animal, you use the indefinite article, a. Yesterday, my uncle brought home a dog. For the first time, members of the family are getting to know about this animal. So the indefinite article is used because before this point, it was unknown. Yesterday, my uncle brought home a dog. Now that the dog is already known to the speaker and the listener, then you can use the definite article because it's now specific. What I dislike about the dog, which dog? The dog that my uncle brought home, all right, yesterday. What I dislike about the dog is that it barks uncontrollably. You see? So at the first mention of an item, a person or thing, then you use the indefinite article to refer to it in general, something that is is unknown. But having known it, you can now use the definite article. Let's take another example. My mother bought me a new bag. It could be any bag, all right? At this point, we are getting to know about this bag. It's a new bag. My mother bought me a new bag last term. Now, having mentioned this, if we want to talk about it again, we can use the definite article. But the bag has been stolen. Which bag? The new bag that my mother bought for me last term. All right, so This is rule number 3. Use a or an for an unknown or indefinite person or thing. Then use the for a known or definite person or thing. Okay, so let's now move on to rule number 4. Use a or an to indicate the category or type of person or thing, all right? For example, Mary is a nurse, but her sister is an electronic engineer. So you are indicating the type of person that Mary is, a nurse. The type of person her sister is, an electronic engineer. Example B, John is an Irish man. The type of person John is, an Irish man. But he married a Japanese. The type of person his wife is, a Japanese. Let's look at example C. Okon is an intelligent man, a type of person. So use a or an to indicate the category or type of person or thing you are talking about. Example D, Clara has worked as a radio presenter. You know, what type of person is Clara? A radio presenter. Now let's look at rule number 5. If the noun is modified by an adjective, the choice between a and an depends on the initial sound of the adjective that immediately follows the article. So if you are referring to a noun and the noun is modified by an adjective, then it is the adjective that determines whether you are going to use a or an. If the adjective begins with a consonant sound, you use a. If it begins with a vowel sound, you use an. For example, a chartered accountant, because the adjective chartered begins with a consonant sound, so the article is a chartered accountant. Then a unique opportunity, unique, yes, unique because the adjective unique, even though it begins with a vowel letter, yet the sound is a consonant sound. So let's look at it. The word unique begins with a consonant sound. Unique. Now, this is the transcription of unique. So you can see that the sound is consonant. So that is why we use the article a unique opportunity, a unique opportunity. Then we look at an interesting novel, because the adjective interesting begins with a vowel sound e, an interesting novel. So we use an. A broken pot, because the adjective broken begins with the consonant sound B. An unusual problem, because unusual begins with a vowel sound. A university student, because even though university begins with a vowel letter, yet the sound is consonant. We earlier transcribed that so you understand. Okay, so let's now undo the marks and go to the next slide and look at rule number 6. Okay. Rule number 6, use the definite article the when the noun is specific or particular. If you are referring to a particular person already known to the speaker and the listener, then you use the definite article. For example, the gunmen that robbed the bank have been arrested. already you are talking about, a particular group of people. These gunmen being referred to are those that rob the bank. They are specific. They are definite. The listener knows the people being referred to. So you use the definite article. The gunmen that robbed the bank have been arrested. Now, what makes this group of people specific is the modifying clause that robbed bank. Which people are being talked about? Those that robbed the bank. So you use the definite article, the, when the noun is specific or particular. Let's look at another example. We went to see the woman. Which woman? Whose husband died in the plane crash. Now, whose husband died in the plane crash makes this the woman specific. Now, you can see this is an adjectival clause, or if you like, a relative clause. And what it does is to define, to describe the person we are talking about. It tells us which one, so that makes that specific. We went to see the woman. And the question is, which woman? The woman whose husband died in the plane crash. So we are not just talking about any woman. We are talking about a particular woman, a specific woman, the woman whose husband died in the plane crash. So when you are using, when you are talking about a noun that is known specifically by reason of a relative clause, then you use the definite article, all right? Let's look at example C. We were able to kill the snake. Which snake? That bit Jane. So because there is a snake that bit Jane, so we know the snake being talked about because we know that Jane was bitten by a snake. And so people went after that particular snake. So it's a specific snake. It's not just any type of snake. It is known because that snake was the one that bit Jane. In that case, we use the definite article the. So when you take a look at all these cases where we use the definite article the, we use the article the because we are referring to a specific person or thing, all right? So that is rule number 6. So let's now undo this and move on to rule number 7. Now, rule number 7, use no articles when generalizing with plurals or uncountable nouns. So there are 2 types of nouns that you won't use any article at all. Now, when you are referring to plurals, generalizing with plurals that you are, you are generalizing with, or when you are generalizing with uncountable nouns. Let's look at example. Children like toys. Children like toys. So children in general, and then this is plural. So it doesn't need any article because you are not talking about any particular children. You are not talking about a specific group of children. You are talking about children in general, and then this happens to be plural. Children like toys. Then I hate watching war films. You are not talking about a particular war film. Generalizing, you are talking about war films in general. And so you don't need any article at all. I hate watching war films. If there is a particular, if there are a particular type of war films you are referring to, known to the speaker and the listener, then you can use articles. But when you are generalizing with plurals or uncountable nouns, you don't need any article at all. Now let's look at an example with uncountable noun. If education is expensive, try ignorance. Now, we are looking at two uncountable nouns. Education is one, ignorance is another. You cannot count education, so it's an uncountable noun. You cannot count ignorance. So when you are referring to education in general, and then you are, this education is uncountable, then you don't need any article. If education is expensive, try ignorance. You don't need any article with ignorance. Then another example, wisdom is the principal thing. Wisdom is the principal thing. So wisdom here is an uncountable noun, and it doesn't need any article at all. All right? So that is rule number 7. Now let's undo this again and go to rule number 8. Rule number 8, proper nouns and some other types of nouns are not to be used with the definite article the. All right, proper nouns are names of persons, places. For example, John, Mary, Matthew, Cain, London, Germany, Nigeria, New York, Paris, Asia, Europe, etc. The names of games such as tennis, badminton, cricket, chess, golf, or names of languages such as French, Japanese, English, Hindi, Spanish, Arabic, Tamil, and so on. All right. So you don't, okay. So proper nouns and some other types of nouns are not to be used with definite articles. For example, you don't talk about, when you mention John, you don't need any article, all right? You don't need any article with proper nouns. You cannot talk about the John or the Mary, no. You don't need to talk about the tennis, the cricket, the golf, no. You don't need to talk about the French, the Japanese, the English, no. So you don't use the definite articles with these types of nouns. So let's now go to the last but not the least, and that is rule number 9. Use the definite article the before unique nouns. Some nouns are unique. For example, unique objects like the earth, the sky, the moon, the Lord, the equator, all right? You can talk about the sun, the moon, and the stars. These are unique objects. So you can use the definite article when referring to them. You can also use the definite article with superlative adjectives and unique adjectives. For example, the tallest building, the best, the first, the most beautiful, the end, the beginning. You often hear people talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, some of these unique adjectives, you use them with the definite articles, all right? So we have been able to look at how to use articles. We have looked at the articles in English and the rules for using them. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, like the video and share the video with your friends and relations. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel by clicking on the subscribe button below. Make sure you click on the bell icon as well, so that whenever a new video goes live on the channel, you'll be notified instantly. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. If you have any comments or suggestions or questions, please leave them in the comment section below. See you in the next video, and goodbye for now. Thanks for watching today's video. A big thank you to all of you out there for being part of today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, kindly subscribe to this channel. Subscribe now as a way of giving us support. For notification about new videos, click on the bell icon. You will find the bell icon. Click on it so that whenever a new video is uploaded, you will be instantly notified. If you have actually enjoyed the video, like and share the video with your friends and relatives. This is very important. If you have any comments, leave your comments below. Any questions, any suggestions, we would gladly receive them and respond promptly and positively to them. See you in the next video. I look forward to always seeing you